Troy Anderson. I'm the owner of Anderson Training Systems. It's a fitness coaching business located in Tempe, Arizona. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you part 2 of my developmental kettlebell training program. It uses a combination of basic foundation kettlebell exercises and some body weight exercises. First drill today is in the second part 2 here that we're going to get into is a two-handed kettlebell swing. It's a very, very foundational, very core movement, and probably one of the biggest bang for your buck movements that you can get out of kettlebells. Much similar to a deadlift, but we're looking at producing a lot of speed and demand and ballistic, and this is the first ballistic movement that we're going to get into with the kettlebell. So we're going to get into the movement here. I'm going to start by standing nice and tall. Again, always having good posture as we do in all our movements. Weight on our heels slightly. This action is going to be driven by our hips. It's not going to be driven by a squatting down movement. So we're going to really reach back with our hips and then squeeze glutes forward. It's absolutely critical that in this movement it's going to look something as such. We're going to reach back here and squeeze through. Reach and squeeze through. That we really clench or tighten the buns or glutes, as we would say, and drive the heels, lock heels straight into the ground. That's going to absolutely engage the whole back side of our body. So here's what it looks like. So as you can see there, you get a nice ton of high repetition, pretty moderate load repetition. It's going to drive your heart rate up. You're going to get a good engagement on the back side of the body. You're going to get a nice total body workout just by that simple drill. Again, we don't want to have any levering or losing leverage with our upper back. We always want to keep good posture. We don't want to let that bell yank us forward. Well, you know that when that bell comes up to a full height, that it's going to go only one way. So let me show you a couple more reps while we're going here. It's only got one place to go, down. So we have to get our hips back behind us quickly and anticipate that, but not so much to the degree that we don't lock through on the hips. So the tendency for some of us is to fire through and then watch the bell and the lever us forward, or to anticipate too early, not extend, and then we're not getting the movement. So we end up with a movement kind of like this, as opposed to having a movement where we're here, boom, boom, as such. Pretty nice, consistent flow of the movement. Again, if you're doing drill well, be getting a ton of exercise and a ton of sensation on the back side of your body. Next drill we're going to look at is a solid drill, is a body weight squat. I like to go ahead and place my hands interlaced behind my head. This has allowed me to give some reinforcement to keeping my trunk and upper body together, as opposed to getting around and bent forward, as we have a tendency to do when we get a little bit tired. So, again, in here as such, interlaced behind, feet about hip width, weight on the heels. We're going to sit back on our heels. As we sit back, we're going to drive knees apart and create space for our hips. So here's what it's going to look like. We want to have a pretty vertical trunk during most of our squatting exercises. Holding good posture again, as always. Good upper back posture, and pushing back on the heels, knees wide to create space for our hips to come down to. Real simple drill, very effective. Next drill is going to take a look at our first vertical ballistic kettlebell drill, and that's what we call a high pull. And contrary to the swing, which we're projecting the bell out away from the body by firing our glutes, we're actually going to project or guide the bell up and in toward us. This is going to lay the foundation for some more drills in the future, like the clean and the snatch. Everything else is the same as far as the movement action is concerned with the drive from the hips as it was with the swing, except for the fact that we're going to snap through this way. But we're still reaching back, we're still driving through the heels, locking straight. We're just going to guide us into, the way I like to use an analogy, so we're trying to fit ourselves in between a really small, narrow space. So here's what it's going to kind of look like. The bell should have a weightless kind of sensation when it reaches its apex. We're not yanking on it with our arm, even though it's called a high pull. It's actually the force and the propulsion for the kettlebell is driven from, again, the hips and legs. you can see, you're guiding that bell up close into the body. The next stages of this are clean, like I said, clean and snatch. What you don't want to do is end up yanking on it. And also, another thing again, is you don't want to, again, stop to admire your work. Much like we talked about the swing levering us forward, if we stop to admire our work, we're not going to get our hips back in a good position for our next repetition. But also what will happen is that bell will plummet and hit real hard at the end of the arm. We don't want to do that either. The bell should be just as weightless down at the bottom as it is in the high point. So that's been your high pull. Next drill is an excellent drill for upper body strength development. That's what we're going to call kettlebell one arm overhead press. So we've got one kettlebell in what we call a rack position, which is basically vertical forearm, elbow kind of levered into the side of the body, wrist firm, not leaked over as such. Having the difference between this and this with our wrist is absolutely critical for pressing movement. And have a firm grip, again tight. This is pressing or overhead pressing. We don't call it military pressing because we want to engage the whole body for this movement. We want to be tight from basically this part of our body all the way down to our feet. So we're going to engage glutes. We're going to lock legs straight. Now what we're going to do is drive up and out, and then pull the bell back down, almost as if we're doing a single arm lat pull down. Back up again. We want to control both actions, both up and down with our body. We don't let it plummet back down into the body. So that's your single arm kettlebell overhead press. Final movement, well, one of the final movements, well actually it is our final movement in this part of the program, is just old traditional abdominal, total body abdominal drill to sit up. Obviously I don't have anybody with me. If you have a training partner to help hold your feet, that's always helpful, but it can be done without. You can obviously hook your legs over something. I'm not going to do that in the demonstration here. I just want to talk about a couple real quick things and then we'll get into the rest of it. So lying flat on back, hands interlaced behind head. One of the things people have trouble with if they're a little bit on the weaker side is they want to yank on the back of their head. Don't yank on the back of your head. If you're getting that tired, that fatigued, or you're already too weak to do that, go ahead and discontinue this drill. Get a nice firm placement, legs bent at about a 90, flat on the floor. From here we're going to start flat. All we're going to do is use our abs to curl us up off the floor, and then we're going to finish the movement with actually our hip flexors, which is the way that a proper sit-up should probably be done at all times. So it's going to be curl up, and then also to reverse the action on the way down. We don't want to just plummet back to the floor. We want to basically curl and uncurl action using the abdominals, because most of us that's the prime reason why we're doing this drill, is to train the abdominals, so you might as well do it to get the most out of your abdominals. So again, a couple more reps, curl up, and then back down, under control. Again, curl up, back down under control, and one more. Curl up, and back down under control. So those have been day 2 of Anderson Training Systems Developmental Kettlebell Strength and Conditioning Program.